Go ahead and mute the main one too. Go ahead and mute the main one. You're putting that banner up and on live.
Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Welcome back to the fall, or welcome back to another semester. If you're brand new, welcome to Penn State. These are our 10 Reason Where weather briefings. They'll take place every Thursday here at 12:35. We'll have a variety of speakers. This week we have Rich Grumm from the National Weather Service.
How's it going? Anybody here a freshman? Wow. Any sophomores? Juniors? Seniors? All right, good crowd. So it's a kickoff. Actually, I think that was that.
Senior citizens.
Senior citizens, yes. Put your hand up. You two guys in the back there next to you. So.
Long live disco.
Long live disco. Dun, 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 dun. Fly, Robin, fly. Was that 1975? To the hustle. Silver Convention, yes. So anyway, we'll start a little bit at the larger scale and work our way down. The story is we have these massive ridges in the both the western and southeastern portions of North America. So we shall probably stay dry. There's rumors of a trough, maybe in 10 days, but there's been rumors of troughs since June. So we got this persistent ridge, but we'll take a look at that. There's some tropical flow that's probably of some interest to some people with Gaston. I always think of Be Our Best, the song from Was It Beauty and the Beast? And then will there be a Hermine, which some models show a really big storm, some don't. And then we'll kind of focus in eventually on the local weather here at State College. So this is from the NACE. I made these images. You can see there's a massive ridge up over portions of northwestern Canada. There's actually a massive ridge off the coast of California. There's a massive ridge over the southeastern United States. And we're kind of on the southern edge of the westerlies, which is a good thing actually for us because even though we're getting humid, we're not like as humid as we were 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then this is what the forecast is supposed to look like by the 28th. And that ridge actually, that closed 594 contour is going to poke its nose further north. And our 850 temperatures are going to be above normal. And this ridge is probably going to dominate our weather for the next week or so. There's some hints that maybe by kickoff time next Saturday, maybe we'll be in a drier, slightly cooler air mass. We'll see. The models have been really optimistic about trying to eventually cool us off, but the atmosphere doesn't seem to be listening to the models. But the other thing is, if that ridge that far north, something at least can squeak into the Gulf of Mexico, which we'll take a look at. So this is from the 52-member NAFES. And then this is what the forecast is supposed to look like next Saturday. And you can see our 850 temperatures are close to normal, and our heights are close to normal, so that would really be nice. And then, of course, the problem with that is there's a lot of spread in 52 ensembles. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but not as much as you might think for that kind of a forecast, like 10 days out. But I think 12 degrees at 850, we'd be kind of happy with that at this point. So this is what the Atlanta looks like. We have the one name storm, and we have X marks the spot, and different forecast solutions. Some people show a really massive storm, potentially built the H-Wharf. Last time I looked at it, had a really massive storm in the Gulf of Mexico by I guess the end of the weekend. And some models suggest it could be a big rain event, but will that be the Hermine storm? We're not really sure. But X marks that spot of intrigue. Gaston is like if you're a whale or you're a fish, or sargasso weed, it's probably an interesting storm. So anyway, here's what the tropical Atlanta looks like from the NACE, and you can see, I just picked a few static images. You can see the really well anomalous flow, and then the hints of the one coming across towards Florida. And of course, we're just warm here. And then you can see Gaston kind of gets caught up, and it starts moving to the north and east, and some kind of, in the 52-member ensemble, something crosses Florida and heads into the Gulf of Mexico. So we're just warm. So I can switch here. We can take a quick look at some. I have a bunch of windows open. So this is what the tropical Atlantic looks like. And the Atlantic looks like now. You can see the bigger storm to the further east, and then the cluster of clouds coming over here. And there's another cluster. This is probably the wave that's going to slowly try to maybe make its way towards Florida. You can see there's a feature in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, at least to our east, between us and Gaston, so we don't have to worry about that. And there's some kind of cloudiness and coming over the top of the ridge into our area. And there's even maybe a more stronger looking boundary that looks more impressive, potentially up in the upper Midwest, and there's a lot of serious blow up. But nothing to write home about. This was zoomed in on that one storm of interest. That I guess this is the storm with all the uncertainty. I don't know if anybody's looked at the H-Wharf and the EC. That this storm has potential in some of the guidance to really blow up in the Gulf of Mexico, but not in NCEP's models at this time, other than the H-Wharf. This is what the radar looks like right now over us, and I'll loop that. And as dark as the clouds have been, I guess it's been a pretty relatively dry day. I think when I walked down to Kyle's class this morning, I got hit with 9 raindrops, maybe 10. I wasn't really counting it. But it looks pretty quiet. And this is the large-scale pattern. This is the GEFS BC, not the NACE. And if I go, I guess, the control function F11, is it? Full screen. What's the full screen?
It's just
F11. Not F111B? That's an old joke. I know Dave got that joke. So you can just see the evolution of the pattern. And over us, this is the 2nd of September. And we get into a mean trough potentially. And we'll go back to the beginning when it goes blank. This is a long forecast. It goes all the way to September like 8th. So here's today, there's nothing going on. And then you can see the ridge in the southeast, and you can see the yellow is where the temperatures are above normal. This is the GEFS, and then the mean ensemble mean forecast with the anomaly. So you can see the big ridge, and it's just going to stay in the eastern United States and kind of work its way into the mid-Atlantic region, way above normal heights. 594 closed contour over Pennsylvania. It's pretty impressive from August, I think. And our 850 temperatures are above normal. So this basically says this is going to be a warm weekend, and that ridge gets stronger, so the whole mid-Atlantic is going to be pretty warm. The only good thing is it's not very moist. And you can see, Gaston at least is being picked up by the GFS. The wave in the Gulf is not. But our heights, this is Tuesday, remain above normal. The height's kind of lower, but our temperatures are still 16 to 18, and we're above normal. And then finally, by Thursday, our heights begin to drop. Unfortunately, we're not above normal for temperatures if you believe this forecast, but we're not below normal either, so we're kind of close to normal. So hopefully they will get a mean trough. I've been seeing this on and off at day 10 through 16 since like the 31st of July, so I'm not exactly totally confident of this. And hit F11 again, right? So here's our tropical system. I'll reload this. I'll cheat so I don't have to do it again. So here's our tropical systems. In the upper panel is the mean sea level pressure, and you're going to see the times. And the temperature, this is the pressure anomaly. And you can see the real anomalous storm, about 5, 6 sigma storm, is Gaston. And clearly this weakness in the GEFS comes into the Gulf of Mexico, into southern Florida. But the big blob of Gaston really catches your eyes. And at low levels, the warm air in the Appalachian Mountains really catches our eyes. But clearly the GEFS has something going into at least Florida, the eastern Gulf, but your attention gets drawn to the big thing out over the ocean that never gets here. So, and the flow over us is really, really weak. So we're going to be warm, clearly. We're going to be impacted by a ridge, so we're not exactly going to be wet. F11. I keep wanting to hit escape. I don't know why that is. So the local weather here today, so far it's been far drier than the hydrostatic models, the large-scale models have been telling us. I don't know. I've been forecasting the weather for about 40 odd years, and this is probably this is the second year where I've had access to convective allowing models, and it's amazing to see the difference in the summertime, what the QPF forecasts and the convective evolutions look like when you look at a convective allowing model versus these larger scale models that have convective parameterization schemes. I'm learning like we were always too wet, and these models have been consistently too wet. Like the GEFS 2 days ago had like 60% of its members had rain during the day today, and it's down to about 35, 40%. The more and more I use convective allowing models, the more and more I realize I don't know how we ever forecast the weather in the summer for the last 4. We were really fooling ourselves. No wonder it was always partly cloudy, chance of showers, because these models, the convective parameterizations kick in and it's all over. Then you start looking at these high-resolution convective allowing models, and it's eye-opening to see the differences. So I think the future, right now I think these rapidly updating convective allowing models are really a boon to us if we learn to use them more effectively. And I think these emergent convective allowing model ensembles, I think they're really going to help us improve our short-term forecasting. The second season I've been really using these data, and I realized it's a revolution, not an evolution that's going on. And we'll look a little about the long-range forecast and those pesky global models with convective parameterization schemes. So I actually already showed the satellite loops. I want to show that. But we can take a minute to reflect on the radar and then see how the HER looks. And the HER is actually backing off. The HER had a really nice-looking, organized area of convection that was supposed to develop to our northwest this afternoon and evening, but I have the 14Z images in here, but I think the 13Z, now the 15Z is really backed off. And the large-scale models, as I kind of already alluded to, kind of show we're just going to be hot and dry. So this is what the satellite picture looked like, and about 2 hours ago, and you can see we were kind of in this kind of soupy air mass with this weak frontal system trying to come up with a ridge, so we're stuck in the kind of the humid, moist air mass, but nothing really organized. It made it look dark, it made it look threatening, but nothing happened. And this is what the HER, 13Z HER, looked like this evening at 2Z. You can see a nice organized area of convection implying some kind of linear convection, maybe a small MCS type feature. And then it actually was trying to generate an area of cold air. It has a cold pool in there. Temperature's actually in the 60s in that area of convection, which it simulated the cold pool, which you kind of expected was organized. And it had a huge amount of precipitation, over 2 inches of rain, of course. In the 3-kilometer model, I guess the thunderstorm cells sit there too long, it puts out too much precipitation. So it was optimistic that'd be an MCS tonight coming through us. And since I put this together, there have been 2 more iterations of the HER, and they're not as robust. And this was the overall QPF that the model was forecasting from 13Z to 6Z tonight. And you can see the biggest stuff was, there was some weak stuff that was supposed to come by this morning that amounted to nothing. It was like a Shakespearean play, much ado about nothing. But I think this may be much ado about nothing also. So then if we look at the GEFS, its precip for the 12-hour period today, it actually showed there was a higher probability in the west, kind of popcorny in the central part of Pennsylvania, and the SREF, it's always too wet. I've come to the realization that from May to October, it's not worth it with the SREF anymore. I don't know, the winter's got some problems too, but it's just too wet. If you put that in your forecast, you're going to need a towel. So we can take a look at some of the details here, but the generalized forecast, the chance of showers and thunderstorms today, with it mainly west of here, there's a better, if that line ever gets going, I mean, that would be this evening after dinner. So if you're going to do something this evening, it'll probably work out for you. A baseball game, take a bike ride, or take a jog. It's going to be, I think you'll be okay. The stuff that was out ahead of it was too weak and didn't amount to anything. And we dry out after this system goes by. Even the GFS is backing off on the amount of precip tomorrow. And it looks like maybe another frontal boundary comes over the ridge. We might get some sprinkles or showers maybe on the Monday. And then we dry out, and maybe our precipitable water is going to remain low next week, so we'll probably be pretty just warm and dry, and maybe even till football day, where that trough could come in. But our 850 temperatures, though, for the most of the period, stay normal to above normal. We actually had a 5940 meter contour over us, which is kind of hot for this time. It's kind of a signal for East Coast heat wave usually. But we're on the northern edge of this massive ridge, and there's implications we could cool off next weekend. So here's what the ridge looked like, zoomed in at 594 ridge, and we're above, our temperature above normal. So before we wrap up, we'll take alternate tab, right? We'll take a look. I had the HER loaded. So this is the 15Z HER. So you can see it's got some really weak returns at 15Z. Showing that stuff is weakening. It looks like a little popcorn off to the east. And then as the evening progressed, so if you're outside, 5, 6 o'clock tonight, it should be pretty nice. I'm thinking maybe I'll go over the mountain on Port Matilda and come up Sky Top on my bike. We're not going to get wet. This is what the convection is supposed to look like now at 2Z. It's not nearly as organized as the earlier HER version had. And it looks like, what's left of it, the remnants of this really weak looking system come through us, sometime in the 4Z. If you kind of temporarily and spatially adjust this, you probably would say that, it could be a little faster, a little slower, but it looks like sometime between 2 and probably 6Z, we might get a light period of rain, and it just goes by us. Nothing great shakes. If you look at the instantaneous, this thing hasn't updated with precip yet. This has the instantaneous precip on it. You can see by about 1Z, it's generating precipitation in northwest Pennsylvania. This is at 1Z tonight. And then it finally gets to precip here sometime in the 4Z range. Of course, if you temporally and spatially kind of move that around, you're probably a little earlier, a little faster. But it doesn't look like a big rain event, and the models are backing off. I showed you this earlier. Oh, change map scale. That looked more impressive. It doesn't look as impressive. So I don't know. I'm not saying the trend's your friend, but the HER at least is saying that we're backing off considerably on the intensity of the chance of rain and the intensity of the convection overnight tonight, especially this evening. So, but if you do a time lag ensemble, I'm sure this would influence the forecast. But the timing was quite similar, just a little bit more robust. So they actually have a. See if this ran. What's the probability of thunder? This is a time lag ensemble from the hurdle. You got to jump over things to get to it, right? Right. Well, at least I got the joke. So that's all. So you can see the probability of thunder in the herd. This is based on ice, and it's based on lightning being forecast in the model. So it's not really robust for thunder force even. But it says there could be some, we're like 40 to 70% chance of maybe thunderstorms going across northwest PA tonight. I think getting used to using things like the hurdle is a good thing because it's one of the early iterations of what a rapidly updating convective and line ensemble might look like. I think we're probably maybe, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 years away from having really a good ensembles in this range. I think it's going to significantly change how we forecast.
Can you go back and show where the winds are?
Oh, I just put them on my whip. I just put them off. I put on the bottom here. The NCAR ensemble didn't run today. They only run at 0Z. So there's the hurdle of the GSD herd. The HREF isn't running right now. But, so not everything's reliable after the turn. Any questions? Any alibis? So I guess we're in a ridge, so it's not very exciting. But I think the tools that are coming into play for forecasting, especially in the 0 to 24-hour forecast, are really changing our science. I think that's really great. But we have weak systems, coming over this ridge. And nothing great shakes. We're going to be pretty warm, but we're not going to be as humid as we were like 2 weeks ago. I did a 69-mile bike ride a week ago Saturday. Saturday was horrible about 2 in the afternoon before that thunderstorm came. I felt like somebody was chasing me with a hairdryer every time I breathed in, going up a hill. So. But the tropics look interesting. We'll have to see what happens to Hermine. Will it be massive, or will it just be a rainstorm in Florida? And we have a chance, maybe some thunder this evening, but most of us should be, getting ready for bed or relaxed, chilling out for the night before it comes. And maybe we'll get some sprinkles with the next week front that comes over the ridge on the Monday-ish time frame. Any questions? Yes.
Well, Rich, you had mentioned, I think it was last year, that the longer range models actually handle bridges better.
They do.
Yeah. And do you think that's going to be true in this forecast period too, in the 4 to 8 day period?
I'll say yes, and I'll say yes because, let's see, alternate tab. I'll say yes because the ridge, if I go to the beginning especially, the ridge, this is the GFS, but the NAIFs I show too. The ridge, not only is the ridge big, the ridges are big, but they're showing it a signal that they're anomalous, so you have to have a convergence of solutions. If the 21, in this case, with 52 members, had different forecasts, you wouldn't get an anomalous signal. So the fact that we have these huge anomalies tells you there's agreement between all the members. It's kind of a hidden, the uncertainty is kind of, the fact that we have convergent solutions, we get big anomalies, says that there's not a lot of spread in those ridges. There normally isn't a lot of spread in ridges, of course. All the spread is going to be in the gradients. That's where the weather counts. So these ridges, I think, I'm confident the ridge is probably going to persist at least through the middle part next week. Anybody else? Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you. We'll be here next week, same time, same place. Dr. Grumm will be in the boat.
What's that?